Welcome back. Today I am going to be showing you how you can minimize the likelihood of injuries for all you gymnasts and parents of gymnasts out there. For anyone new around here, welcome back to the channel. I'm Joe, a Team GB gymnast and gymnastics coach, and I help gymnasts improve their performance through strength and conditioning training. As a coach and Team GB gymnast, I've seen my fair share of injuries, from breaks, tears, ligament ruptures, damages across the board, from gymnasts' perspective, coach's perspective, and me myself. And it is not nice. We want to spend most of our time in the gym being able to perform, better ourselves, work on our actual gymnastics rather than out the gym being injured. We often think about the next goal, the next skill, the next competition, and always pushing to improve that area. But not very often do we think about, okay, how can I reduce my likelihood of injury? So if it sounds like something you want to get more information on, make sure you watch the rest of this video. Less injuries, more time in the gym equals better gymnasts. Point 1, warm up effectively. Something that everybody knows from the kind of GCSE PE days, warm-ups. You need to warm up before you are partaking in physical exercise. It's so obvious, but I see so many people across the board, from the lowest to the highest levels, not doing it properly and effectively. Gymnastics is insanely demanding on the body. You need to be warming up effectively to help prepare the muscles and body for exercises. Those muscles are going to be put under so much strain throughout different exercises in gymnastics. You need to make sure they have an increase in temperature before you start and they are ready for the strain they're going to receive. Again, this helps prepare the central nervous system. This takes an absolute hammering with what you are putting your body through in the sport of gymnastics. So it's important you prepare it the best you can with a good warm-up. It is also important you take your cool down seriously as well. Again, I'm a victim of this. I do this all the time. You finish a training session, you're tired, you want to get home, and you can just easily miss those little bit of static stretches that's really going to help you in the long run. But it's like a thing we think, it's like a task we know we should be doing, but always put it off. And cooling down your body effectively after, again, the load and trials and tribulations it's gone through is super important to help aid recovery, muscle stiffness, soreness, and help you to be able to train more effectively when it comes to the next session. A good warm-up should reflect the activity that you're undertaking. So you need to make sure it includes a pulse raising activity, lots of dynamic movements, stretches across different planes, and specific exercises and movements that are going to translate into the rest of your session in gymnastics. So basic, but just get the basics right first. Point 2, prioritize strength and conditioning training. Focusing on strength and conditioning training not only helps improve performance, but also helps reduce the likelihood of injury. And that is what we are here to do. Developing muscular strength not only helps you generate more power to perform bigger, better skills with more height, but also it helps you absorb more force. When you perform skills in gymnastics and you're performing bigger skills, better skills, more dangerous skills, skills with higher difficulty, the forces are placed upon your body only increase, okay? There's a significant amount of force that your body is placed underneath through a landing, through a tumbling pass, through a trampette, through a vault. Whatever you are performing, your body is becoming under strain. The stronger the muscles throughout the body, the more force, the more load it can take and can manage without injury. Strength conditioning also helps improve those common sites of injuries for gymnasts: joints, ankles, knees, and the stability around those joints that comes with a good all-rounded S&C program also helps to prevent and strengthen those areas for, again, the landings, the tumbling passes, general training, and the wear and tear on those joints. It also helps reduce the likelihood of having muscle imbalances, which can contribute to the risk of injury. So having a good all-rounded strength and conditioning program where we're working both sides of the body, both maybe extremities equally to produce power and force, means one doesn't take more load than the other, which can, again, further down the line, give you an injury, whatever it may be. I'll leave a link down below if you're looking for a strength and conditioning program, and you can join our accelerator program where we help gymnasts, we deliver the program, get stronger, perform bigger skills, and reduce the likelihood of injury. Moving on my next tip to reduce the likelihood of injury in gymnastics is improve your flexibility. Now again, this is something that people think, oh, gymnastics, yeah, you need to be really flexible, but they often misinterpret just how much flexibility can play in the role of reducing injuries or the likelihood of injuries in the sport. Not only do you have to have a really good range of motion in gymnastics to perform skills such as the splits or achieve a range of jumps, leaps, flips even, but you also need a good range of motion to reduce the likelihood of injury in the sport. A good range of motion can give your body a little bit more of a chance when it comes to those harsher landings where a bigger range of motion is required. Particularly, for example, take a landing where the knee is super flexed or the ankle is super flexed. Maybe you're landing short. If you have a greater range of motion, you will be able to withstand that more easily and prevent such things like tears, breaks, ligaments around the joints, while also obviously being able to achieve the skills you can in gymnastics or need to have decent flexibility to perform. Flexibility training also helps to promote good recovery, and being more flexible helps you to recover quicker and reduce muscle stiffness, soreness in between sessions. It also improves your longevity. Now, I didn't make the national team until I was 17. Now, I see a lot of younger kids, gymnasts, who pick up injuries a lot earlier on in their career. And if you're not working on your flexibility to help improve that longevity in the joints, the common sites of injuries, the big muscles, making them stronger, but also making them more flexible, the likelihood of you having a long career in the sport, it's unlikely. Like I say, it helps reduce the load and stress on joints, and you need as much help as you can get, because as you get older, the skills get bigger, the tricks get harder, the risk gets greater. Being too flexible in the body or in a joint or a range of motion can reduce your ability to produce force. So balance of strength, balance of flexibility, meet in the middle, perfecto. Next point, master the basics. Now, like everything, gymnastics is a sport where the fundamentals and basics are key. They are what creates the biggest skills, the best gymnasts and the most successful gymnasts. The ones with the good basics go the furthest. Now, when I joined Team GB and I was lucky enough to get selected, a lot of the time we spent doing, and I say this to a lot of the gymnasts I work with, I don't think they believe me, was spent going back to those flaws in technique. Particularly, those that know me know I have an unbelievably bad round off, bad flick, and I spent so much time getting told this. We had tumbling specialists come and look at us and say, right, you need to go backwards, you need to work at this. And that is what the time at the top looks like. A lot of the time, coaches you're working with, they'll give you their experience, they'll tell you what's gonna happen with this. Gymnasts have worked with in the past and use their knowledge to best prepare you technically to help reduce your injuries and improve performance. Because the sport is ever developing, there's always new ways, more effective things to do, all parts of it. And optimal technique can often change from the fundamentals, and there is better ways to do skills, there's safer ways, there's better technique, and mastering your basics and these techniques are going to reduce the likelihood of you having an injury. Also in the basics section, you need to complete thorough preparations for skills you are trying to achieve. When you're going from one somersault to two somersaults, for example, it is not just doing an extra somersault. There is a range of physical and mental preparations that need to be put in place and done so you can make that progression. And again, this looks different person to person, but you need to make sure you've undertaken all of the physical and mental preparations for each skill. If you feel like there is a flaw somewhere in your technique, to go forwards, you have to come backwards. Make sure you step the preparation down one, go backwards a little bit to then go forwards, because I promise you, it always results in the skill being better, you being happier, and definitely it being safer. Progressing skills too early can be a surefire way to end up with a big acute injury, unfortunately. And you've got to be super careful, because there's this balance of doing the preparation and then performing the full skill. But always, those preparations should be a good step-by-step build-up into the full skill, removing maybe one or two preparations, whether it's a spot or a stack landing, which then helps the skill to be turned, developed, and then you come backwards, maybe take another one out, do it again, go forwards. It is a balance game, but you have to be careful when you're progressing your skills. And the point to take home here is make sure your technique and your fundamentals are perfect. Next point, effective nutrition. Now, nutrition can have a direct impact on the likelihood and reduce the likelihood of injuries in sport in general. It is so important. If you're really struggling with your nutrition, I suggest speaking or having a research to a specialist in the industry. But I've always seen my food as fuel. So it's like a car. If you're wanting your body to perform at the best level, you need to try and provide and do everything you can in the best possible way. And this is where the breakdown of your macronutrients and what food you're consuming as a gymnast or a high performing athlete or whatever you do is vitally important. You need to make sure you're having sufficient carbohydrates that are going to fuel you for your sessions. You need to make sure you're having a sufficient protein intake post-session to help aid recovery, muscle growth and development. It is so important. And again, it's so commonly overlooked. If you're struggling with your nutrition, you really need to make sure you're keeping hydrated, you're eating a well-rounded, balanced diet, including your macro and micronutrients, having a high protein intake to fuel your body effectively. Like I say, if you're struggling with this, speak to a specialist or have a research about how you should be fueling your gymnast or yourself for their training. If you're looking for more information to help support your gymnast, I've put a link here where you can access my top 30 tips for gymnasts and parents and coaches on how to support and help your gymnasts. We discuss a range of topics from strength and conditioning, my embarrassing stories and experiences with nutrition, failure, setbacks, and you can access them, 30 tips here. Anyway, back to the video. Next point, manage training load effectively. Again, there's this often stigma about gymnasts spending hours, days on end in the gym. And a lot of the time, I think it's not valid. I think that as the science gets better, the coaching gets better, and understanding of the sport gets better, what is showing as ever more important is the quality of the time and what you spend your time doing in the gym. Again, people might disagree with me here, but now the 10,000 hour rule obviously states the more you do something, the better you will become at it. But I think that what's misinterpreted in gymnastics sometimes and coaching is you cannot perform your top skill, your biggest skill, again and again and again and again and again. You have to have a real regimen of, okay, training load, managing training load, and just how much force, reps, sets of skills your body can take. Gymnasts need to be physically and mentally prepared, never mind what they have going on in the outside world. Lots of these guys are going through school, GCSEs, whatever they're going through. Being physically or mentally fatigued is a surefire way to increase injury. If you're not careful and you don't manage your training load effectively, you can end up with some serious injuries, and that is not what we want. Signs of this: tiredness, fatigue, plateau in performance, the usual things, but we need to listen to our bodies. You need to listen to your gymnast body. And again, it's something we work on. A good example of this, I always like to push myself, and sometimes just completely burn myself out, because it's almost, I want to feel productive. I want to feel like I'm improving. I always want to be busy, but not necessarily like banging your head against the same wall again and again and again, when you could just walk round the wall, is not the best idea. There's definitely better ways to manage your time than spending 12 hours in the gym 7 days a week and running the risk of injury. Resting properly also helps reduce the injuries that come from repetitive motions. Unfortunately, in the sport, there is a lot of repetition. Now, making sure you have sufficient rest can help reduce repetitive strain injuries, etc., things like this as well. Making sure your training is efficient, effective, while also monitoring your training load and your output is vital. If you're looking to improve your gymnastics performance, I'll leave a link in the bio to our accelerator program, which takes gymnasts from A to B via C. Workouts delivered to you weekly, tracking metrics. We do all the hard work. You turn up and do the reps and see an increase in your performance. Now, YouTube is very clever and it's gonna put a video right here, which I suggest you go and watch if you enjoyed this one. I hope you've had a great start to the year. I hope it's gonna be a successful one for you. Keep working super hard throughout your training, and I hope some of these tips have been effective. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.